Here are the crypto top headlines covered in this video. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse's thoughts on crypto regulation. Next, update on SEC versus Coinbase lawsuit hearing. Also, Ripple and Hedera unite to enhance the trillion-dollar payments market. Welcome to Crypto Top Headlines, where there's no clickbait thumbnails or titles, and no speeches on my opinions, just bringing crypto's news to you. We are a new channel here on YouTube, and would greatly appreciate it if you would click on the like and subscribe buttons, as well as the notification bell. It does help support the channel, so thank you in advance for doing so. Now, on to these headlines. Our first top headline is Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse and his thoughts on crypto regulation.
Joining me right now here at the World Economic Forum in Davos is the CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse. Brad, great to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you so much for being here. I want to get your take on the impact of this ETF approval. What have you seen?
Well, I think it's a very big deal, in large part because I think it's further validation from institutions and even in this case a government entity where the crypto has been on kind of the outskirts, I think, and increasingly you're seeing that come into the mainstream. And so I think it's a validation. I think it's further indication of more institutions coming into the crypto asset market.
And Ripple enables global financial institutions. Take us through that. How?
So Ripple, at its core, we sell blockchain technologies and solutions to enterprises. We focus primarily on financial institutions. We started with a payments solution to settle cross-border settlement for banks, for PSPs. Typically, cross-border payments have been slow. They've been expensive. Using these technologies, we can dramatically reduce the cost and increase the speed and efficiency.
And now you're seeing financial services institutions try to get their own strategy with regard to blockchain underway. How has that changed the dynamic for Ripple?
Well, I think anytime you have a new technology, it's nascent, and although crypto's kind of been around for 10 or almost 12 years, let's say, it's still new. And I think you have a lot of large organizations, even JP Morgan, despite Jamie Dimon's comments about how he thinks about crypto, they're investing heavily in blockchain technologies. Now, that being said, I think in order for blockchain to thrive and for the largest population to benefit from these technologies, you can't have insular closed networks. Like the whole point, it's kind of like the internet. The internet opened up networks. You had AOL and CompuServe and Prodigy. Along comes the internet to create interoperability. Crypto does that and can do that across many banks and to provide dramatic improvements to how we think about money movement and really any transaction.
And with any new technology, I question whether or not those writing the laws around the regulation framework really understand the technology. Now, recently, you called the Securities and Exchange Commission Chairman Gary Gensler a, quote, political liability to the United States. You said he's acting in the interests of citizenry or the long-term growth of the economy, that he's not acting on behalf of customers and users. Tell us more.
Well, look, I think Gary Gensler has prioritized hiring more lawyers to litigate the industry. And this is often described as, or kind of regulation through enforcement. If we just took the time to codify rules of the road, most of the industry in crypto wants to follow the rules of the road. Countries around the world have leaned in. Even the European Union, 27 countries in the European Union have come together to create a construct for how crypto should be regulated. In the United States, we haven't done this work. I jokingly suggested maybe what we should just do is type into ChatGPT, how should the U.S. That's more than the U.S. SEC has done. And it's frustrating. And I think, even, I guess, yesterday there was a court hearing between Coinbase and the SEC. And the judicial system continues to slap down the SEC because they're overreaching. They're overstepping what the laws say. It's the reason why they lost the case against Ripple. It's the reason why they lost the case against Grayscale. It's the reason why they were dragged kicking and screaming to have an ETF. Thus, as I was quoted, I think Gary Gensler hasn't been acting. He's been acting on almost his own agenda, not the people's agenda in the United States. I wish I had a clear answer to that. I think these are technologies that are here to stay. And the ETF approval is, I think, further indication of that. It's just frustrating that we're spending so much time in the judicial process to get clarity when we could do that, as many other countries like Japan, the UK, the UAE, Switzerland here in Switzerland. these are not small economies. They're doing the work to provide that clarity. And in the U.S., I think it's become a political agenda, not a policy agenda.
From someone who's studied this as many years as you have, what would be the proper framework on a regulatory environment that needs to be in place?
Well, I think the number one thing I think about is not about regulating the technology. It's about regulating the outcomes and the activity. Just because we have new technologies, we should still care about things like KYC, know your customer. We should still care about anti-money laundering, AML. Those are principles that are, I think, sacrosanct. I think the U.S. SEC has been trying to expand their remit to say, well, this new market, a $1.7 trillion market of crypto assets, is going to be under the remit of the SEC in the United States. The law does not support that. The CFTC is a much more natural regulator. And things people will say, well, what about FTX? And, ironically, Gary Gensler was meeting with Sam Bankman-Fried repeatedly. FTX isn't about a crypto fraud. FTX is about a fraud. It happens to have been crypto, and it definitely was a self-inflicted wound for the industry. But one of the reasons I'm excited for what is ahead in 2024 is the headwinds of these self-inflicted wounds have largely abated.
Are you clear on who the regulators are? Because it seems like there are still questions, SEC, CFTC, or maybe everybody.
Well, in the U.S., there's still confusion, for sure. Outside of the U.S., and the reason why Ripple has continued to grow very quickly outside the U.S., 95% of our customers are non-U.S. financial institutions. 75% of our hiring last year was outside the United States because of this. But yet, if you go back to the earliest days of the internet, the U.S. did the work and provided clarity of how the internet would be regulated. And the internet today is, on a geopolitical basis, has benefited the United States more than any other country.
It's a great point. I want to get your take on what the CEO of Circle said. He says he sees a strong chance that the U.S. passes laws for stablecoin issues this year. Brad, tell us about the stablecoin and the potential looming regulation there.
So I think the regulation there is appropriate. I think it is the priority on Capitol Hill. I've spent a bunch of time in Washington, D.C. The U.S. Treasury, stablecoins, 95+% of the market of stablecoins is the U.S. dollar stablecoin. You have Tether, you have USDC. And I think the U.S. Treasury wants to see that those laws passed, and I think they will be pushing Congress to act. And I think that's good. That's forward progress. There are new dynamics of what stablecoins mean to financial kind of settlement. And so I think the CEO, Jeremy Allaire of Circle, is correct that that'll probably happen in the first half of this year.
Piece in the Journal this morning on how China's crypto traders are evading the rules there. They write this: the success of the country's crypto traders in evading the rules shows how difficult it will be for regulators across the world, including the United States, to actually police this industry. Your reaction?
I think there are elements of that with any new technology. There's obviously the Great Firewall of China is something that has people have sought to circumvent, evade within China for probably a decade or two. I think, again, if you think about the activities that these technologies enable, KYC still matters, AML still matters, and ultimately today there are the off ramps through typically exchanges like Coinbase that are very good actors, where I think you are able to enforce these kinds of regulations. That's part of the self-inflicted wound of a settlement with Binance, the largest exchange in the world, with the U.S. government, I think a few months ago. Well,
that settlement you just referred to, congratulations to you and to Grayscale. What does this mean for you in terms of new business opportunities now that that's behind?
Look, Ripple really thrived under the scrutiny of the SEC, but outside the United States. My hope is that now that there is at least clarity for Ripple that XRP is not a security, that opens up the U.S. market a little bit. The challenge, of course, is you still have U.S. regulators who are pretty hostile, right? The SEC continues their litigation, enforcement through litigation, and even the OCC has been pretty negative about crypto. My view is this is a technology, this is an asset class that is here to stay. We need to embrace it and understand that. And I think ultimately the U.S. typically gets it right. It just has taken a little while. So
what's the pushback for Jamie Dimon, who was on the program last week saying, look who's using crypto, terrorists, look who's using sex traffickers?
My reaction to that is terrorists and sex traffickers use cash. If you look on a percentage basis, I'm not trying to say that any new technology, bad actors can use any new tool. Bad actors will use AI. Bad actors will use crypto. I think there are a lot of very good actors in crypto who are doing the right thing. Ripple only works with regulated financial institutions. You can't have anonymous transactions using Ripple's technology. So, some of those things I think are good political talking points. They're not reality.
Yeah, well said. Brad, great to have you this morning.
Let me pause here for a moment. If you're getting value out of this video, please click on the like and subscribe buttons as well as the notification bell. Our next top headline, Coinbase argues stocks, Terraform Labs, and Howey in 5-hour SEC face-off. District Judge Catherine Polk-Fela heard arguments from attorneys for the SEC and Coinbase for 5 hours on January 17th. Cointelegraph has a rundown of the hottest topics. United States District Judge Catherine Polk-Fela has heard arguments from the Securities and Exchange Commission and Coinbase on the crypto exchange's motion for dismissal of a lawsuit filed by the regulator in June 2022. The hearing was held for nearly 5 hours and provided an extensive overview of the key arguments in courts regarding the crypto space, assets, and the SEC's role in regulating the industry. During the hearing, Judge Fela critically examined the regulator's case against the crypto exchange, asking the SEC attorneys to explain why a digital token issuance would meet the Howey test, arguing the case was too broad. In the SEC's view, buyers of tokens are also investing in the network or ecosystem behind it, indicating there is a value proposition behind a token purchase. Coinbase's attorneys, however, challenged that argument, claiming that Bitcoin, described as a commodity by an SEC attorney during the hearing, is also backed by a community and has a network. Judge Fela delved into the definition of staking and secondary market transactions, as well as recent court rulings involving crypto firms such as the Ripple and Terraform Labs case. Cointelegraph has summarized the hearing's hottest topics below. Coinbase is trying to create a different Howey test, says SEC. Attorneys representing the SEC argued that the exchange is trying to create a different version of the Howey test while allowing trade of crypto tokens that offer holders access to ecosystems that the regulator described as a common enterprise. The SEC argued that the exchange independently conducted the Howey test, leading to differing interpretations regarding the status of certain tokens. This discrepancy in conclusions over the tokens regarding the test, according to the SEC, provides sufficient grounds to reject the motion and allow the case to proceed. We think they're making up a new test, and we believe that our position is the one that's most faithful and consistent, but in fact compelled by the Howey test. It's not just a plausible reading, as they claim it is. Terraform Labs case enters the stage. During the hearing, the SEC discussed a recent ruling on Terraform Labs that concluded it sold digital assets as securities without registration. The decision, according to the SEC, provided further grounds for its case against Coinbase. The topic was heavily discussed over the hearing. As per SEC attorneys, the cases of Ripple and Terraform Labs may differ from Coinbase's one, but the Howey test applies exactly in the same way. Our perspective is they're identical in terms of the Howey test that applies, said the SEC. We think Coinbase is trying to create a different Howey test for when the people at this table might sell the tokens to each other on its platform, and when Terraform might sell its tokens on Coinbase's platform. And we think that's just wrong, Your Honor. Coinbase's legal team argued that Terraform Labs' case did not involve secondary market transactions, such as the ones conducted on the Coinbase platform. Another key difference appointed in court is that in Terraform Labs' dispute, investors and the company were in a private relationship, but the Terraform's case, first of all, as I know the court knows, did not involve secondary market transactions, they argued. There were no secondary market transactions in that case. Those were all situations where there was a relationship between the investor and the promoter. In addition, Coinbase counsel explored the legal requirements for establishing an investment contract under U.S. law, which requires a type of financial arrangement where an individual invests money in a venture managed by another party with the expectation of earning a profit. An investment contract, at a minimum, requires the contracting parties to agree or scheme together that the contractee will invest in the contractor's profit-seeking endeavor. According to Coinbase, users trading tokens on its platform may or may not seek profit on the investment, as tokens can also be acquired for their utility. Judge Fela added that investors can purchase tokens because they are cool or because a friend owns them. Ripple, stocks, and more talks over secondary market transactions. Coinbase argued that token holders don't receive dividends or have legal rights over a project just because they own tokens, which is different from stocks. A stock reflects an interest in the permanent capital of a corporation, and when it trades, that interest in the permanent capital of the corporation, which is a participation in its capital structure, transferred in entirety from one holder to another holder. The discussion over stocks and crypto tokens stemmed from Ripple's ruling from July 2023, when Judge Annalisa Torres granted a summary judgment in favor of Ripple Labs, determining that the XRP token is not a security when sold via programmatic sales on exchanges. However, Judge Torres also found that XRP was a security when sold to institutional investors, aligning with the criteria of the Howey test. The critical takeaway there is that Judge Torres recognized that secondary market token purchases of XRP were not investing in Ripple, and in that sense, it rejected what I think is a core portion of the Commission's argument before the court today, which is its investment in an ecosystem, at least with respect to transactions between strangers, where no relationships exist, where no obligations travel. In Coinbase's view, blind trades between individuals on its platform does not constitute an investment agreement. The SEC sued Coinbase on June 6, 2023, alleging that the cryptocurrency exchange violated federal securities laws. The agency argued that 13 tokens listed on the exchange were securities, including coins like Solana, Cardano, Polygon, Filecoin, The Sandbox, Axie Infinity, Chiliz, Flow, Internet Computer, Near, Voyager, Dash, and Nexo. Our next top headline, Ripple and Hedera unite to enhance the trillion-dollar payments market. Ripple Labs and Hedera are two top crypto projects with common goals in addition to being members of the ISO 20022 that seek to replace the outdated SWIFT system. Over the years, they have shown resilience in the face of regulatory and market challenges while unlocking new use cases with groundbreaking partnerships with industry-leading projects. Interestingly, Utopian Lab founder Max Walker-Williams has indicated on X that he has met the two leaders of these great projects to discuss the future of the industry. CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, and co-founder of Hedera, Dr. Limon Baird, at the interview also discussed the possibility and the impact of collaborations and unity within the crypto sector. The post shared by Walker Williams had some crypto enthusiasts speculating about an upcoming partnership between Ripple and Hedera. According to Garlinghouse, that possibility would be considered. We're going to make sure that we start talking about whether we can collaborate as well. Prior to that, the Hedera founder had disclosed his interest in talking about tokenization. Garlinghouse also criticized the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler on his usual approach against the crypto sector. I think Gary Gensler is doing the same thing over and over again and thinks that somehow he's going to win in court. Garlinghouse also spoke about the impacts of regulatory clarity on emerging technologies, especially stablecoins. On top of that, he touched on the implications of the current SEC policies on the U.S. economy and the global leadership in the crypto economy. Hedera and Ripple making impacts in the cross-border payment sector. Analysts believe that the possible collaboration between Ripple and Hedera could largely enhance the cross-border payment market as both parties have similar interests. It can be recalled that Shinhan Bank, the leading bank in South Korea, and Standard Bank, the largest bank in Africa, united in a proof of concept on Hedera to consider the reduction of middlemen, cost, and settlement time. The meeting saw the two Hedera Governing Council members talking about the challenges with legacy cross-border payment systems, known as SWIFT, while proposing a stablecoin solution on Hedera. In December 2023, Ripple also announced that it is updating its crypto-enabled cross-border payment solution. The idea was to ensure that the blockchain was taken advantage of to facilitate faster, cheaper, and more efficient cross-border payments. Monica Long, president at Ripple, stated, "Since the start, Ripple focused on creating products that solve real problems for real customers. This evolution of Ripple payments represents an extension of our long-running work to optimize the cross-border payments experience through transformative technology. This market is predicted to value $250 trillion by 2027. As of press time, XRP was trading at 0.568153 cents after surging by 0.67%. Its weekly returns also stand at a decline of 4.8%, with a neutral bearish score of 50 per 100. According to analysts, XRP can go as high as $1.59 this year. Hedera, or HBAR, was also trading at 0.079434 cents after surging by 0.6% in the last 24 hours. However, investors had a negative return on their 7-day investment after falling by 3.9%. According to analysts, this asset can go as high as 0.222416 cents this year. So this concludes our top headlines. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to click on the like and subscribe buttons, as well as the notification bell. Also, leave your thoughts in the comments and share this video with your friends and family. Thank you all for watching Crypto Top Headlines, bringing crypto's news to you.